Imagine turning your dog's stomach into a highly pressurized brewery and a rapidly inflating balloon at the exact same time. It starts with a simple mistake. It sounds like a terrifying, bizarre visual, almost like something out of a cartoon. But for many home bakers, there is a literal ticking time bomb nearby. This is a very real threat. Medically speaking, that time bomb description is a completely accurate assessment of the biological nightmare that unfolds inside a dog. We aren't talking about a mild tummy ache here. This is a catastrophic collision between human culinary hobbies and canine eating habits with deadly results. Reports from the ASPCA and Iowa Veterinary Specialties paint a picture of a dual-pronged attack on a dog's system that is as fascinating as it is deadly. To understand why this happens, we have to look at the science of bread making, specifically a crucial step called proofing where the dough rests. This is the final fermentation stage where a baker shapes the dough. From the outside, it looks inert, just a lump of wet flour sitting there. But inside, the yeast, a microscopic, single-celled fungus, is waking up and actively fermenting the sugars found in the flour as a biological feast. As a byproduct of this cellular feast, the yeast produces two specific things: carbon dioxide gas and ethanol alcohol, changing the dough's chemistry. The gas gets trapped in the stretchy gluten matrix, creating air pockets that cause bread to rise, while ethanol provides that complex flavor. In a normal kitchen, the baker eventually puts that dough into a 450-degree oven, which instantly kills the yeast and evaporates the alcohol safely. Yeast is incredibly sensitive to its environment. Bakers go to great lengths to create the ultimate incubator, carefully managing warmth and moisture for growth. But if we look at a dog's stomach, it is actually the ultimate incubator for yeast to thrive and expand uncontrollably inside the pet. It is a dark, moist, continuously churning vessel sitting at a core body temperature of roughly 101 to 102 degrees Fahrenheit, perfect for yeast. Veterinary toxicology reports describe the canine stomach as a tailor-made, supercharged proofing box, far more efficient than any kitchen counter or bakery oven. When a dog swallows a lump of raw dough, the standard culinary timeline is violently shattered by the intense internal heat of the animal's body. The heat accelerates the yeast's metabolic rate exponentially, initiating what experts call the 12-hour simulation, compressed into just a few dangerous minutes. The yeast acts as if it has been left on a warm counter for half a day, producing massive gas inside the animal rapidly. This leads to the first massive emergency: the physical, mechanical danger caused by the expanding mass of dough inside the dog's digestive system. As the yeast pumps out massive amounts of carbon dioxide, the dough stretches but does not break, creating a powerful and dangerous internal force. It becomes like an internal airbag. This relentless outward pressure leads to a feared emergency called gastric dilatation-Volvulus, or more commonly known as bloat. In GDV, the dilatation refers to the stomach inflating like a balloon, causing severe abdominal distension that threatens the dog's life immediately. As the stomach wall stretches incredibly thin, it compresses the local vascular system, starving the stomach tissue of its own critical blood supply. Then comes the volvulus, the twist. Because the stomach is now a massive, unstable mass, it can physically flip over on its axis suddenly. This flips the stomach, sealing off both the entrance from the esophagus and the exit to the intestines, trapping everything inside a biological prison. This locks the doors, but the yeast is still churning out gas. There is no escape for the pressure building inside the dog's stomach. The pressure skyrockets, and the inflated stomach begins pressing against other structures, most notably the caudal vena cava, the dog's primary return vein. This is the primary vein that returns deoxygenated blood from the lower half of the body to the heart. Now that vital flow is blocked. When this vein is pinched flat, cardiac output plummets and the dog enters severe cardiovascular shock. The entire system begins to fail rapidly. This can trigger disseminated intravascular coagulation, a total systemic breakdown where the body forms microscopic blood clots everywhere and begins to bleed out internally. While this mechanical expansion is crushing organs, a second chemical threat is emerging: severe alcohol poisoning from the fermenting yeast. As the yeast ferments inside that 101-degree incubator, it is pumping out raw ethanol directly into the dog's bloodstream. Humans have a specific enzyme in our stomach lining that helps us metabolize alcohol before it is fully absorbed into our system. Dogs, however, have negligible levels of this enzyme. They have no filter to block the alcohol from entering their vital organs. Because of this, they receive a direct, continuous hit of raw alcohol to their brain and vital organs, causing profound intoxication. Clinical signs of this profound intoxication usually hit about 2 hours after ingestion, as the dog becomes disoriented and lethargic. The dog becomes ataxic, meaning they lose motor coordination and stumble as the ethanol begins to paralyze their nervous system. The alcohol causes metabolic acidosis, where the blood becomes dangerously acidic, creating a hostile environment for every internal organ. The liver is so busy trying to clear the poison that it stops producing the glucose necessary to keep the brain alive. Ethanol acts as a central nervous system depressant, slowing their breathing until it becomes dangerously shallow and irregular. There is a particularly cruel biological paradox that happens during this process, making the situation even more life-threatening. As the dog feels sick, the ethanol in their blood is actively paralyzing the epiglottis, the flap that protects the windpipe. While the body heaves to expel the sticky dough, the airway is left wide open, creating a massive risk for aspiration pneumonia. If a dog eats raw dough, you cannot wait it out at home. It requires aggressive emergency veterinary intervention immediately. If caught very early, vets may use drugs like apomorphine to induce vomiting, though the sticky gluten often makes this difficult. If vomiting fails, vets must perform a cold water gastric lavage, pumping gallons of ice-cold water into the stomach. The ice-cold water shocks the yeast into dormancy, halting the production of gas and toxins instantly. This helps break up the dough matrix so it can be suctioned out, relieving the dangerous pressure from the stomach. In severe cases, where the stomach has already twisted or tissue has died, emergency surgery is the only remaining option. Prevention is the only truly safe strategy. Recognize that a lump of yeast dough is a serious biochemical hazard. The safest way to proof your bread is to use an enclosed, physically inaccessible area, like the inside of an unheated oven. Turning the interior light on creates the perfect microclimate for your bread while keeping it behind a heavy, dog-proof door. Just remember to put a note over the controls so you don't accidentally preheat the oven while the dough is inside. A simple 10-second adjustment to your baking routine can be the difference between a successful loaf and a life-threatening emergency. Your pet relies on you to keep their environment safe. Being a responsible baker means being a vigilant pet owner, too. Always remember the 3 golden rules: secure your dough, monitor for unusual behavior, and never hesitate to call your veterinarian. A small lump of dough might seem harmless to us, but to them, it is a catastrophic weapon. Keep it out of reach. Understanding the science behind the danger is the first step in protecting our furry family members from silent household hazards. The bond we share with our dogs is built on trust and care. Let's honor that bond by keeping our kitchens safe. Thank you for joining us in this deep dive into pet safety. Stay informed, stay alert, and keep your pets healthy. It is important to remember that this hazard isn't limited to just bread. Any raw, yeast-based dough like pizza or pastry poses the same risk. Even small scraps of leftover dough from your pizza night can trigger this catastrophic biological chain reaction inside a smaller dog's stomach. Watch for unproductive retching, a distended abdomen, or sudden weakness. These are the red flags of a primary medical emergency. If your dog appears drunk or disoriented after being in the kitchen, assume they have ingested dough and act with extreme speed. Keep the number of your local 24-hour emergency veterinarian saved in your phone. In these cases, every single second counts. Early intervention is the difference between a successful gastric lavage and a high-risk invasive emergency surgery to save a life. Properly dispose of any leftover dough in a secure dog-proof trash can. Never leave scraps where a curious nose can find them. Our kitchens should be places of joy and delicious smells, not hidden hazards for the animals we love so dearly. By understanding the biochemical reality of yeast ingestion, you become a powerful advocate for your dog's health and safety. A small change in your baking routine is a giant leap in safety for your dog. It only takes 10 seconds to be safe. Education is the best prevention. Share this knowledge with fellow bakers and help protect every dog in your community. Stay vigilant, stay informed, and enjoy your baking safely. We will see you in the next deep dive into pet wellness.